Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. A very warm welcome and a huge thank you to you all for joining us this afternoon for this showcase for Osprey Sentinel. Osprey Sentinel is a new product that Osprey has launched, one of a suite of new products that we'll be launching over the coming few months. And it really is the first stage in a new way that we are going to be delivering risk management information, data, and analysis to the industry. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Andrew Nicholson, the CEO of Osprey Flight Solutions. I'm joined today as well by Matthew Borie, our Chief Intelligence Officer. I'm going to give you an overview of Osprey Sentinel itself and what it does. I'll hand over to Matt to give you an analysis perspective of Sentinel and the value that it can bring, and then I'll take you through a live demonstration of the platform so you can all see how it works, the functionality there, and the value that it can bring to aviation operations. As always, in Zoom here, there's a Q&A panel, of course, so please do submit any questions that you have during the presentation, and at the end we'll get round to answering as many or all of those as we can to make sure that you have all the information that you need about Osprey Sentinel. So without further ado, I'm going to move through, as I said, very brief presentation and then into the platform itself. So on the face of it, it is a bit of an anomaly that national aviation authorities and other regulators take such an active role in providing intelligence-led direction and advice on aviation operations over or near conflict zones. Effectively stating that the risk to your operation is so great that I'm going to dictate that you cannot operate in this particular area is a bit of an outlier in the way that they conduct their business across other functions, of course. Unfortunately, but unsurprisingly, government organizations, due to their inherent political agenda, are simply unable to provide objective support to the industry. The politicization of the NOTAM system is obvious across the board, really, but it's clearly demonstrated by incidents such as the international regulatory response to the forced diversion of a Ryanair flight in May 2021. However, this doesn't change the fact that prohibitions exist, and the regulatory bodies that implement them may have the right to impose significant fines or other regulatory consequences for any breach. So the challenge then becomes interpreting and implementing these NOTAMs and other notices operationally. You have all dealt, I know, with any regulation, and you will know that the norm is for reality to generally be ignored, for attempted diplomacy to cloud the clarity of those notices, and also for practicality to really disappear through convoluted and difficult to track publication mechanisms. Where this really becomes difficult is when all these issues are compounded with the complexity that cross-regulatory compliance requires, particularly through code shares. And in some ways, it's difficult to see how compliance exists at all, let alone is widespread. It is often, although certainly not exclusively, when operating code share flights that breaches occur. The good news is that this kind of requirement is where AI capabilities can excel and bring enormous utility and value to users. The ability to monitor, actively monitor websites for change, to identify the details of that change and translate it into data and visual output really is bread and butter for machine learning algorithms. And neural networks can bring extremely high levels of accuracy to that capability. Finding solutions to aviation problems like this really is core business for Osprey. And this particular problem is why Osprey Sentinel has been developed. Sentinel is a simple to use web-based platform, part of the Osprey suite of services that consists of two main functions. Firstly, the automatic and almost instant monitoring, gathering, and visualization of any changes to notices published by regulatory authorities. And by regulatory authorities, we monitor the six sort of most active international and national authorities, being the US FAA, the UK CAA, the German LBA, the French DGAC, Transport Canada, and EASA. And Osprey Sentinel provides a one-stop shop to gather all the information about all the conflict zone-based NOTAMs, AIPs, AICs, and other advisories that are in place by any of those 6 organizations in near real time. Secondly, every flight that an operator conducts can be checked for compliance against all extant or newly published notices. The operator can then be immediately notified of any breach. The second, either the flight plan is filed or a new notice is published. Sentinel is therefore an automated compliance tool, ensuring that operators do not miss changes in regulatory notices and that they are immediately notified of any potential breach, allowing them to make timely and accurate decisions to avoid the breach if that is required. This reduces risk, saves time, and increases efficiency. Sentinel is another example of Osprey developing a specific platform to answer a clear need from the industry and deliver an industry first. It is an integral part of our broader suite of services, giving the most accurate regulatory picture available in the industry today. The key benefits of Osprey Sentinel really are to augment your resources. We all know that monitoring, managing, and implementing or taking account of NOTAMs and other regulatory notices is a resource-heavy process. It also maximizes your compliance because the accuracy of our analysis and understanding of the notices is highly accurate, and also happens extremely quickly to make sure that you can maintain your compliance to those notices. It eases the challenges of understanding the regulatory notices from other authorities that you might have to comply to through code-share flights. And of course, it avoids the fines and the other potential regulatory consequences of any potential breach. I'm going to hand over to Matt now to give an analysis view on the benefits of Osprey Sentinel before I give a demo of the system. Over to you, Matt.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for taking the time today to see the presentation on Osprey Sentinel. Andrew's outlined many of the key benefits around the platform and why it was developed by Osprey. From an analysis point of view, myself and my team have lived this same type of issue. As Osprey has issued alerts to our client base over the years on when notices are extended, when they're updated, when they're revised, issued regarding conflict zones by those 6 leading civil aviation governing bodies. The problem is it's a manual process. Each one of those 6 bodies does things a different way. EASA uses bulletins. The UK uses a combination of NOTAMs and an AIP. France, Germany, and Canada use a combination of AIC and NOTAMs, and the US uses a combination of NOTAMs and federal restrictions published through the Federal Register in the United States. So there's no one place to go to get this information. In general, there's no one way to access it for updates. There's no real way to automate this process without the use of technology. And then that's only half the part. Getting the most up-to-date information still then needs to be applied to your operation to understand if this change in regulatory guidance or mandate is going to impact your flight operations. That's where Osprey has really taken the next leap in integrating flight plan data into the ongoing monitoring of conflict zone notices and advisories. What I can say is that already this is helping the Osprey analysis team. While we may not have active flights planned like an operator would, our team knows right away without having to lose any sleep at night when a notice is changed or updated or amended by a leading civil aviation governing body when it deals with conflict zones. What that allows for is trust in the information that we're seeing in the system, and then the ability to clearly articulate the impact to our clients through the other forms of services that we provide beyond Osprey Sentinel. What Andrew's going to do now is do a live demo of the system to show you how you can see and visualize these notices and advisories and circular information pieces from the regulators, and then also show how you can check your flight operations against them.
Thanks, Matt. And hopefully now you can all see the login screen for Osprey Sentinel. It is a web-based platform, the same as all of our other services, with the logins. For those people who have access to Sentinel, it will be exactly the same login process as it is for our core platform. As I mentioned in my introduction, Sentinel is made up of two key aspects. I'm first going to go onto the advisories page. And as I said, the advisory page really is a one-stop shop to understand the conflict zone advisory and prohibition lay down for the six authorities that we monitor. And as I said, that is US FAA, UK CAA, Transport Canada, German LBA, French DGAC, and EASA. So as I switch between these different authorities, you can see how the map changes to reflect their position on conflict zone advisories and notices, and also you can see on the left-hand side you have the detail of the particular notice or advisory that I've been selected there. So as I said, this is really a one-stop shop for all conflict zone type advisories for those six authorities. And there you can see all the detail and the raw text of that advisory NOTAM in the system. But as Matt said, sort of most importantly really is the way that we then take flight plan feeds, and we take those flight plans through Eurocontrol, through the FAA swim feeds, and also we can take it direct through AFTN or AMHS feeds directly into our platform. And we can take those flight plan feeds and we can check every single flight plan that you file against all of these notices, whether they fly anywhere near it or not, but we will check every single flight plan against all of these notices, and we'll check to make sure that there are no breaches or any advisories that you fly through are highlighted. And as you can see here, there's one prohibition that we have in this data and 4 advisories that this flight is flying through. And there you can see the flight itself and the advisories that flight is affected by. And again, you can click in to get the detail of each of those advisories if you wish to. Within the settings button, you can change 2 things. One, whether which authorities and what type of data you can view within the platform, i.e. within the interface that you can see in front of you, and you can select which authorities you want your flights to be checked against, and whether you want to see the current flights, and that will be flights that either the flight plan has been filed for or the flight is in the air, or all data. And that is all historic data since you first logged onto the system. So you can see historically whether there have been any breaches or your aircraft have flown through areas of advisory in the past. The second box there is the inform box, and that determines what you receive by email. And there are two you can receive, or 2 types, either an immediate notification, and that means you will receive a notification the instant either you file a flight plan, which is in breach of a notice, or you can get a once every day summary of all the flight plans that are breached a prohibition or have flown through airspace with an advisory associated with it. You can also select whether you inform just about prohibitions or about prohibitions and advisories or just advisories. And again, you can select which authorities you receive those emails on. So it's a fully flexible and customizable notification process that enables you to really understand what is going on immediately with all your flight plans or on a daily summary perspective. So that, in short, takes you through the platform. It is, on the face of it, a simple platform. It just has those 2 pages but clearly the operational benefit of having the flight plans feeding in and being checked against every single conflict zone advisory is hugely powerful from an operational perspective. Let me switch quickly back to the presentation and just take you through. I've shown you the demo. Take you through the key features. As I mentioned, is a customizable dashboard. You can customize that to provide you with whatever information you want to see, whether it's just the advisories, just the prohibitions, which authorities you want to view those prohibitions on. It allows you to cross-reference every single flight that you conduct with the regulations and automatically notify you and identify breaches to enable you to take action if you need to do so with any of your flight plans. As I mentioned, you can look historically as well at all the data that we have within the platform for your particular operation and identify any historic breaches. And we have that proactive email notification of changes, both changes of any of those NOTAMs or other advisories that are published, and you can receive that automatic notification through email, but also, as I said, if any of your flights breach any advisory or prohibition. Now, the bottom there, we've put potential bursary support. We have had a couple of clients who have received bursary support through their insurance brokers or underwriters to pay for some of the subscription for this platform. If that is something that that you're interested in, then we may be able to help with that, depending on which of your brokers or underwriters. As you know, we have an established relationship with Gallagher's and a couple of the underwriters as well, so we may be able to help with that if that is something that you want to investigate. So a pretty brief presentation there, just to take you through the key aspects of Osprey Sentinel. As I said, it really is, the first of a series of launches, which is going to really change the way that we view risk, or we display and communicate risk to all of our users. And by extracting that regulatory aspect of risk, it enables us to be far more detailed and granular in our view of actual overflight risk from an Osprey perspective. So please do look out for those changes coming soon. But right now, Sentinel clearly provides these key benefits to help you with your resourcing, to maximize your compliance, to ease those challenges with code shares, and to avoid fines and other consequences. So that's the end of the presentation. A couple of questions have come through. I'm going to address those right now. I did forget to say at the beginning that Nigel Williams, who was due to join us, sends his full apologies. Unfortunately, he's had a family bereavement, so he couldn't be here today. But I'm sure he'd be very happy to talk to anyone as well if they needed a reference for Sentinel. He's used Sentinel as well. So let me address the Q&A that we've got. So there are 3 questions that have come through. The first one that I'll address is Sentinel available as a standalone platform, or is it part of the current Osprey platform? It is both. It can be provided as a standalone platform or as part of a subscription to our broader platform. If it's used as a standalone platform, obviously we'll have to set up the flight feeds specifically for Sentinel, but that is an option to be able to do. Obviously, if we're already receiving your flight plan fees because you have them coming to us through Osprey Pulse or other parts of our system, then we'll have that already, and we won't need to do that setup during that period. Second question is, can Sentinel monitor NOTAMs or other advisories published by the authorities other than the 6 that I stated today? Yes, it can, is the short answer. Actually, the system is capable of monitoring really any authority. We've chosen those 6 to start with because those 6 provide regulation for sort of the largest need within the aviation industry. However, we can, at client request and in discussion with other organisations, look at other specific use cases and other authorities that we might be able to take their regulatory notices and other advisories from. Thirdly, can aircraft ADS-B be connected to these maps to provide real-time data? That is certainly something that is possible. It is not in there at the moment. It is in our development pipeline to look at in the future. Of course, the challenge with ADS-B is that, or I should say, the benefit of having the flight plan feed is that you're aware before the flight is conducted that there may be an issue there, and you can make decisions on that before the flight is actually conducted. Whereas with ADS-B, you're obviously getting it in real time. But it certainly is a capability that we have, ADS-B feeds, and that we could look to put into Osprey Sentinel if that was a value to users. A couple of other questions have come through. I'm just going to click through these. So we have, can the Sentinel software display trends or hotspots over time? I'm trying to sort of interpret that a little bit in terms of hotspots and trends. And Matt, you've just come on. You may want to jump in there. I've just seen you turn your video on, so if you want to jump in, please do. In terms of trends, and sorry, go on, Matt, you go.
Thanks, Andrew. Just to highlight, the Sentinel is designed for the specific use case of monitoring conflict zone advisories and notices issued by the governing bodies, and then checking your flights against them. This is in addition to the other Osprey services, some of which, like Osprey Explore, for example, is specifically designed to be able to detect trends and patterns over time through Osprey's industry-leading database of aviation-centric safety and security pings. Now, those type of offerings can be discussed as part of a further discussion with Sentinel. Really, this is a complement to the existing services that Osprey's been providing to clients for several years now. So while trends and patterns being visualized in Sentinel it is not part of this solution, it is available within the Osprey suite of services and is right in the sweet spot of what we do every day with our data science and analytical capabilities.
Thanks, Matt. And I've just put my contact details up there. If anyone does want to follow up, then please do, either with me or I'll connect you to the right people. Or for any of you that are that are existing clients of Osprey, of course you have your client relationship manager. Please do get in touch with them for any further information on that side of things as well, on the other services that we provide. 3 more questions that have come through. Can Sentinel show the OALs overflying a certain FIR airspace, something like flight radar, but with the added Sentinel features? Again, that sort of ties into the ADS-B data feeds, which we have the capability to do, but it's not within Sentinel at the moment. But it's certainly something that we'll be looking at in the future. And again, please do let us know if that is of particular value to you, and therefore we can look at getting that in as a priority. Next one was about the insurance information. If there's a connection regarding special conditions of service and payments, again, please do get in touch with us, and we can discuss that, again, either through me or through your client relationship manager, your CRM, and we can look specifically at the insurance benefits that you might be able to gain for Sentinel. Another question was, do you have access to flight plans beyond Eurocontrol zone, e.g. from Africa? So, as I say, we take flight plans both for Eurocontrol and for from the FAA swim feed. So we have the Eurocontrol zone, but also the US as well, covered by those API feeds that we get from those 2 organizations. But we can take any flight plan from any operator through AFTN or AMHS. So basically, you'll add our AMHS address to your the distribution list when you file your flight plan, and it will automatically come into our system. So it just requires that address to be added once, and then every time you file a flight plan, it will end up in our system. So that's a way where we can receive flight plans from anywhere, and we do. We receive about 50,000 flight plans a day at the moment through the mixture of Eurocontrol, FAA, and through the AMHS and AFTN networks.
Andrew, I'm happy to take the last question, or the next question.
Go for it. Thank you.
So the next question is, are you planning to include ad hoc security information that we could use to inform flights already in the air? Means no, not depending on mention from the authorities, but flash news. So what I think that means is, does Osprey have the ability to provide alerts on incidents and events that may impact aviation safety and security, but aren't covered or aren't there isn't a notice issued by the advisories? Again, this is already something that Osprey does through our existing services. We issue alerts on things like what's occurring in Iraq at the moment, with ballistic missiles being launched from Iran into Iraq. We've issued several alerts on that issue in the last 48 hours. There's in place civil aviation governing bodies, which you could see in Sentinel. However, the other parts of our Osprey core platform, in specifics, our alerts, are a complement to Sentinel. So we provide open source intelligence to aviation teams that is about breaking incidents or trends and patterns that our team has identified, separate from the regulatory information that would be covered within Sentinel. So it shows how the products can be used as complements to one another. And if you'd like more information on the Osprey suite of services, our core platform or the Explore platform that I discussed earlier, and our Pulse platform that Andrew also mentioned, as well as a look at Sentinel in more detail, please do reach out.
Great. Thank you, Matt. And that really, I think we've come to the end of the Q&A there. So that really does wrap up the presentation and the showcase for Osprey Sentinel. So as you've mentioned, firstly, please do reach out for any further information that you would like. And it just remains for me to say thank you very much indeed for attending today. Please do shout with any other questions that you have. Otherwise, please fly safe and see you all soon. Thank you very much indeed.